Hi, good morning, everybody. Little voice warm-up required. It's a cold Delhi morning, I know. The air is a bit smoggy and all. And people are still on their way, so while we wait for the rest of our audience to join us, welcome to the ET Soonicorns Summit, Delhi-NCR edition. My name is Suresh Venkat. I'll be your host for the day. The theme for this year's Soonicorns Summit is the 3 R's: resilience, reset, and results. Let's talk about these 3 words for a minute. Now, resilience. Amidst a global macro slowdown that's been marked by high inflation, rising commodity costs, and escalating geopolitical tensions, India's startup ecosystem has been grappling with a period of intense funding constraints, also known as the funding winter. Now, following a phase of abundant funding, soaring valuations, and rapid scaling almost at any cost, the Indian startup ecosystem entered a phase of recalibration. We call this the reset. Prioritizing profitability, cash flow, a strong corporate governance system, startups are now focusing on sustainable growth. Finally, results. Through this reset, experts foresee the emergence of a robust and mature startup and tech innovation ecosystem poised to contribute significantly to India's aspiration to achieving a 30 trillion, yes, 30 trillion economy by 2047, our 100th year of independence. Now, as we approach the actual winter in India, there are some early signs that the funding winter may be giving way to a cautious spring. Despite challenging macroeconomic conditions, the silver lining is that Q1 of calendar year 2023 saw more than 26 startups joining what's called the Soonicorn Club, that refers to startups which are about to reach a $1 billion valuation mark. And this is according to data shared by Tracxn Technologies. Now, before we start the day's proceedings, take a look at the key highlights of the 2023 edition of the ET Soonicorns Summit.
The Economic Times presents ET Soonicorns Summit 2023, shaping the future of India's dynamic startup ecosystem, celebrating startups, supercharging India's decade, demonstrating resilience, reset, results. ET Soonicorns Summit 2023, Bengaluru and Delhi NCR editions, a unique hybrid, immersive experience for a global audience. 100 plus speakers, 70 plus Soonicorns, 50 plus unicorns, 15 plus sectors, 10 plus tracks, and 3 plus thematic reports featuring unicorn playbooks, Soonicorn Spotlight, startup pitches, products showcase, report launches, investor insights, masterclasses, and more. ET Soonicorns Summit 2023, enabling the rise of a resilient startup ecosystem and tracking new frontiers of growth. Join us in shaping the future.
All right, so there you have it. A few quick house rules before we begin. Please keep your phones on silent, obviously, but don't switch them off. Feel free to post on social media using the hashtag ET Soonicorns Summit. If you have questions for our speakers, you'll have to approach them during the networking breaks. There's a lunch break and a break in the evening and a networking dinner. That's when you can pose your questions for the speakers. Speaking of which, don't miss the networking dinner after the summit today. It's a good time to catch up with the ecosystem partners. With that, quick word of thanks to all our sponsors and partners. The ET Soonicorns Summit 2023 is co-presented by Persistent and Google Cloud. Our scale-up partner is MyBiz by MakeMyTrip. Our technology partner is SAP India. Associate partners are Balance Hero India, Persistent, and Google Maps Platform. Research partners Tracxn. Our gifting partners are Kimerica, Deciwood, Boat, Sleepy Owl Coffee, Kerala Banana Chips, and Jagic. Like I just said, the hashtag to use on social media is ET Soonicorns Summit. To start off things, may I first invite Samidha Sharma, Editor Startups and Emerging Business Economic Times, to say a few words. Samidha.
Thanks, Suresh. Welcome everyone to the second edition of the Economic Times Soonicorns Summit 2023. So we began this effort last year virtually, and this year, for the first time, the ET Soonicorns Summit is being held in person. There's no better way to do this than to do it in a physical format. The two-city event went to Bangalore first when we held the ET Soonicorns Summit on August 26th. And here we are among all of you in Delhi. I'm super excited for all of us to be here in the capital for what promises to be a day of absolutely insightful and engaging conversations with some of the leading founders, entrepreneurs, investors, and stakeholders in India's startup and technology sector. This part of the country has stood out in the last few years, having taken the lead in birthing some of the biggest unicorns which have gone public, starting from Zomato, Policy Bazaar, Delivery, Paytm, and very soon, Mama Earth will be joining this growing list. There's much to learn for entrepreneurs across the board from some of the playbooks of these companies and so many others present here today who will be on stage over the course of the day. The theme for the ET Soonicorns Summit 2023 is resilience, reset, and results. It could not be more reflective of the current state of startups globally and in India, where being sustainable and profitable are being priced the most among tough external conditions. To put things into perspective, we as a team are coming right after hosting the 9th edition of the ET Startup Awards, our flagship event, which honors the best in Indian entrepreneurship. The winners this year, predictably so, represented a cohort of companies which have been successful in creating businesses at scale, are sustainable and profitable. Some of the other winners have built businesses without venture capital money, have bootstrapped their way, and are hugely profitable. All of this is testament of the different kinds of startups that the Indian entrepreneur is building today, and how the ecosystem is starting to mature. While we have a long way to go, entrepreneurs present here, I'm sure, have learned from the past as they move ahead to build differently away from the excesses of the past cycles. Today, as part of the theme of resilience, reset, and results, we will be discussing all of this and more today with founders who have taken different routes to entrepreneurship, seen several funding cycles, sold to strategics, and are building within a bigger company. And I'm really looking forward to listening to their stories and engaging with them. At ET and ET Tech, we as a team have led the coverage of startups from the inception to them becoming blue chip companies. But we've also tried to use our platform and events like the ET Soonicorns Summit here today to showcase and create a knowledge economy that can help entrepreneurs in their journey as they build companies from seed stage to becoming public firms. I hope today's session, fireside chats, and overall discussions leave you with meaningful takeaways and you're able to meet and grow your networks. Thank you once again, everyone, for joining us here today. And whoever's watching us live, hope you're able to take a lot of learnings from today's sessions, and welcome all of you once again. Over to you, Suresh.
Thank you, Samidha. Up next, we have a video message from Satyan Gajwani, the Vice Chairman of Times Internet. Satyan is going to talk about enabling the rise of a resilient startup ecosystem and tracking the new frontiers of growth. Can we have the video message from Satyan?
Welcome, and thank you for joining us at the Economic Times Soonicorns Summit. This is our second year of the Soonicorns Summit, and we've expanded the event. This year, we hosted just a few months ago the first leg of this in Bangalore, where hundreds of people joined us and attended. And I'm happy to see the second leg happening today here in Delhi. Thank you all for joining us. The Soonicorns Summit is about recognizing an important leg of our startup ecosystem. This is about the companies that have proven that they should exist, establish some scale, but are on the cusp of being the next billion-dollar companies of our country. With the emergent success of the startups that we see today in India, I'm sure that these companies are going to become a major force in our overall economic growth and platform for job creation in the country. This year's theme is very timely and relevant. We're focusing on 3 words: resilience, reset, and results. The last 1 to 2 years has demonstrated a funding winter and a period of challenge for a number of high-growth companies. The past years of easy access to capital and fast growth at all costs have changed, and companies today have to mature and demonstrate their ability to be strong, resilient, independent enterprises. This is healthy. It's good for us. It creates its challenge, but ultimately, it will help us yield better, longer-lasting, and productive companies that will contribute to our overall economy. We're very fortunate because today we get to be joined not just with each other, but with some acclaimed speakers who have gone through this journey already. A number of existing unicorn founders are joining us today to teach us their playbook, to share with us how they've endured and navigated through the challenges of their own journeys, going through their own struggles, moments of crisis, euphoria, fear, anxiety, and the many challenges that come as part of a startup journey from starting up to becoming a unicorn company one day in the future. I'm sure we will all learn from their guidance and expertise, and I'm very grateful for them joining us today. This event isn't just about an event. There are many hours of research and work that we as a team and the Economic Times team puts in to making sure that really productive and valuable conversations come of it. We also publish our Soonicorns report with this event, which is useful and valuable for many parties in both the public and private sectors to learn from the state of our economy and the state of this industry as it stands today. This event isn't just about our speakers, it's about you, and it's about our attendees. We're very fortunate for the hundreds of people that are joining us in person and the many thousands more that are watching this online on economictimes.com. For those of you that are here in person, please use this not just as an opportunity to learn from our speakers and from the organized event, but to learn and engage with each other, because oftentimes the conversations that develop out of events like this can be very important and lasting and driving your own business success and your own learnings. Thank you all for joining today. I'm very excited for what we'll learn today and for what this event really represents. This is the emerging force of new growth and opportunity in our country. Soonicorns, while it's a tag word, really is about representing the potential of the startup ecosystem that we have in our country. And I'm very excited to see a number of these founders graduate from this status towards becoming many unicorn companies in the future, and for the next set of crop of, and for them to become inspiring for the next set of crop of entrepreneurs that want to believe in creating rapid, disruptive, and positive change for our country. Thank you all for joining.
We move on to our first speaker. Jeet Vijay is the CEO of the MEITY Startup Hub. He's our first keynote speaker. Jeet will be talking about Startup 20 Vision, enabling Indian startups to become the engine for global economic growth. Jeet, can we have you on stage?
Yeah, I'll fix it. All right, good morning, everyone. It's a great pleasure to be here today morning with you guys and girls. And thank you, ET, for organizing this. We really love this in the government that, when the private sector and the organizations and associations take the lead to build the ecosystem together, that really makes for an impactful collaboration. So thank you for this initiative that you guys have undertaken. Now, the theme is very timely. When we talk about resilience, reset, and results, And before I dive into the startup ecosystem, I want to talk about how the government embodies these three things today. How the government is looking at resiliency, resetting itself, and delivering results through the macroeconomic policies, practices, processes, and people that we are engaging. Now today, we are the 5th largest economy. In the last decade, we went from 9th largest to today 5th, and in the next few years, we are talking about being the 3rd largest economy in the world. What does that mean? That means we are larger than a lot of developed country economies. But then why are we called a developing nation? If we are the 5th largest economy, why are we still a developing nation? Because the reality is that hunger, health, poverty, education, unemployment, all these things are still affecting a large percentage of our population. Just because we are a large economy doesn't mean that we are an inclusive economy or we have delivered it for everyone in our society. And that's a harsh reality. So those are the things that the government is constantly working on and asking itself. That how can we be more inclusive, more enabling, and accelerate the growth of the economy and the country as a whole in a sustainable pattern. Now for this thing to really happen, how is the government looking at it, right? The economic disparity, the ideological diversity, the cultural and language plurality, the topographic and geographic heterogeneity that prevails across this great nation, it necessitates something that we all really need to in the government look at is how do we create more institutional integrity? How do we make our institutions stronger? How do we ensure uniform and compliant and transparent governance? So governance for all. How do we ensure legal equity, that the law works for all? And how do we create one nation identity so that we all understand that we are all striving for the same cause and the same growth and the same goal? And that's what makes it a complex social fabric in India today. And that's why we all need to strive to create something impactful in the government. And today the world looks at India as a nation on the rise, a giant among the equals. And why is that? Because fundamentally, the government has done some few things, and some are the natural comparative advantages of our nation that is enabling us to lead the world. If we talk about few of these parameters, right? So accessibility, availability, and affordability are the three parameters that the government always looks at in terms of delivery of services and benefits to the citizens. First is the banking. Today, Indian banking and financial systems are among the strongest in the world, be it through the Jan Dhan Bank accounts, which enable the opening up and formalization of banking economy, be it the availability of banking resources in the heartland of the country. So banking is a critical component, and the financial institutions. And our capital pool is getting deeper now as well. Second is connectivity. Cheapest data, cheap handsets, smartphones now, and the cloud. It is allowing for people from all walks of life, all locations of the country to engage in a dialogue, discussion, and economic activity. Now, next is demography. Today, 70% of our population is younger than 35 years of age. And the beauty is that for the next 3 decades, 70% of, I think around 50, 60% of the population will still be in the working group category. So these are the drivers of economic growth and the engines that will propel us further, the young demographic for the next 3 decades. Another part of the D is the digital. Government has extensively worked under the honorable vision of our Prime Minister that digital will be the future. So hence when he created Digital India back in 2014-15, right? And now, today, if you look at it, the ecosystem that we have built for the digital technologies, from Aadhaar card, a one identity for a billion people, UPI, the largest, fastest online transactions in the world, Gati Shakti, a multimodal platform to bring a holistic development through integrating airways, waterways, highways, roadways. Talk about ULIP, Unified Logistic Integrated Platform. ONDC, which is democratizing the economic participation of people. So these are just a few examples, or NDHM, National Digital Health Mission, making health accessible and available to the most needy people in every part of the country through telemedicine and other online resources. So this is the digital stack that the government has built through the support of the private sector, and private sector has taken it to the next level by building upon it. Now we talked about banking, connectivity, digital, demography, and last is the E, entrepreneurship. A country of a risk-averse country where everyone wanted to be a doctor, an engineer, or a Sarkari employee. Now we have gone to a country where everyone is looking to, pursue their own dreams, explore the potential of their own possibilities, and engage in entrepreneurial initiatives. And I think that's a shift in the mindset. And of course, government doesn't go around building unicorns. We can only lay the fabric and create the environment where the startups can dream big. And then, of course, it's up to you to become the unicorns and the soonicorns and the decacorns and create value and wealth for yourself and the society. Now, having said that, this is where the government is. But if we talk about now, looking at the role of these startups, right, from few hundred startups back in 2014 to more than 100,000 DPIT registered innovation-driven startups. But how many of them are really scalable? And what are we going to do to actually create value and wealth? Because these are some of the tough questions that if you get a DPIT certificate and you're a startup, are you really a startup that's creating wealth and value? Now, so the government is taking a lot of initiative in terms of various schemes and programs and policies to make ease of doing business for startups, providing funding. And I'll touch on a few of them as to what MEITY is doing, Ministry of Electronics and IT. So first is, let's say we are funding 51 incubators across India. We have 42 Center of Excellence from deep tech to emerging tech. So nanoelectronics, membrane, fiber, 5G, all the way to AR, VR, gaming, VFX, animation. So it's spread out across the country, 42 Center of Excellence. We are funding 25 accelerators across India. So all in all, more than 130 odd physical assets to provide a nurturing environment to our startups. Doesn't matter whether they are in Bhopal or they are in Chhattisgarh, they are in Bangalore or Pune or Mumbai or Delhi-NCR. They have resources, and this is just MEITY. We're not even talking about DST, Startup India, DBT, BIRAC, and the other ministries which also have similar initiatives, and the states which are also doing the similar things. So aside from physical infra, we have funding for startups all the way from idea level. So we give some money to entrepreneurs before they even form a company to validate their idea. And then we give money for first prototype creation. And we give up to $50,000 for commercialization. And every year we fund few hundred startups through that commercialization grant. That's the first base pyramid scheme that we have to enable that we can allow our entrepreneurs who don't have money to actually explore their ideas. Then we have an accelerator scheme where we do matching funding on the same terms as a lead investor in a round up to, I think, $100,000 or so. So the private sector investor can deleverage their risk through government funding as well. After that, we have a fund of fund, which invests in SEBI-registered Cat 1 and 2, which invest in electronic and hardware deep tech startups, because deep tech startups don't get the love that the SaaS gets. So government has set up the fund of fund for that as well. So anything from idea level to hyper growth level, there is funding programs that the government has put together. Now, the third pillar that we have at MEITY is we are looking at international growth of our startups. So we have bilateral programs with UK, France, Germany. We're launching something with UAE and Saudi Arabia. It's also in discussions that how do we take our Indian startups and give them access to the capital and market of the foreign nations. So these are just some of the core initiatives, but aside from that, we have sectoral focus initiatives. So India Semiconductor Mission. In that, we are funding startups through DLI scheme and multiples of CRs who are working on SEMCON product. And that's a very big initiative for us. Now we have India AI, another initiative that has been launched. In that, we'll be looking at 1,000 plus CR of funding to AI-based startups, because we are looking to build on the AI ecosystem that's emerging. Third is the heterogeneity of language in India. So we have something called Bhashini, which is the National Language Translation Mission. In that, we are looking at digitization of the Indian language corpus. How do we do, our Prime Minister says, right, Bhashadan. So unless and until there's more of Indian languages on the net, we can't really train our models around it. So we have created a mission around it, and which is also funding startups in that program. So like that, we have a lot of these missions that are in existence, and more are coming up as the need arises and as the government can procure resources for it. Now, that's just the MEITY's initiative. But if you look at the bigger picture now, I want to talk from the investor hat a little bit, right? So my background is I'm a private equity guy based out of US for the last 20 plus years. I used to run a fund out of Austin, Texas, and we did a lot of investment in deep tech startups in healthcare, IT, pharma, med device, nanofiber, 3D, etc. So if you look at it, today, if you look at the data, most of the unicorns were created in 2020, 2021, and 2022. And why was that? Because that was the time of the pandemic and where we realized the power of the digital technologies to provide access and availability of resources and solutions to the consumers. And hence the valuations kept jumping. And the model became from value creation to valuation. And I think at the risk of going off track a little bit, but the startup model became more of a political model. That how do I get more and more people on my platform? I don't care how many freebies I have to give them, what my customer acquisition cost is, how much of a negative EBITDA I have. I just want more and more people associated with me, and maybe that heft of consumer base on my platform will give me enough of a competitive advantage that no one else will be able to replicate it. But just onboarding customer doesn't make the customer sticky. Ultimately, the product and the value that you're providing to the customer has to be the critical element of it. So valuation might be great from investor perspective because every 6 months you can raise a new round of funding at double the valuation, and in 3 years you can be a unicorn. As long as you can keep adding numbers of people and platform, right? But distinct USP or the competitive advantage comes from either your technology, which is a great barrier to entry for the others, and especially if it's patented technology that you're driving your growth, or it's the value delivery model that no one can replicate because you have figured out either the last mile connectivity solution or you're providing solution at a cost which is cheaper than the competitors through your supply chain management. But in our rush to acquire customers, we forgot about the basic concept of customer acquisition cost and the value creation. And I think this is the reset that we are talking about today in terms of what will drive the future growth of the ecosystem. Gone are the days of those valuation numbers. Now everyone is talking more about the unit economics. And if you go to fundamentals of unit economics, there's a diminishing returns, right? Marginal utility curve, if you look at it, that at what point does the curve start shaping down? Where do you get the maximum return from your customers? Who is your paying customer? What is the margins? I think those are the things that the Soonicorns and the younger startups that we talk to, we try to imbibe in them, that start really thinking. Don't think about the valuation, because money comes if you do well what you're doing. But money is the end goal, then you are not really striving in the right direction. And so I'll close my remarks pretty much on that, government is taking a lot of initiatives to build the ecosystem. But ultimately, I think our associations like ET and what these guys are doing here is a very critical component of building the ecosystem. And third is that there is a great need for our entrepreneurs to really not look at us going into a new normal, but we are going back to the original normal, what the world used to be before pandemic. So pandemic was an anomaly. It was not a new normal. Now, of course, there is some distinctions and some niches that have been created which will allow you to bifurcate the future opportunities. But ultimately, the fundamentals of business are driven by value creation, by the service, by the technology, by the innovation, by the solutions that you're creating, not necessarily by the valuation that you're getting from investors. So please, let's focus on rebuilding, rethinking, and reinvigorating our approach to building businesses, because I think if we solve for the opportunities that we have in India today, be it from health tech, agri-tech, fintech, medtech, defense tech, there's a ton of opportunities because we are still only a $3.5 trillion economy. China is 19, US is 22. There's a long way to go. So opportunities abound. We'll definitely be scaling up rapidly. We'll definitely get to that $30 trillion economy by 2047. But it's up to you how fast you can grow and how much value you can create for the customers and the consumers that you're addressing the needs of. So thank you so much for this opportunity and good luck.
Thank you, Jeet. Our second keynote speaker in the morning session is Geetika Dayal, Executive Director, TIE Delhi-NCR chapter. Geetika will speak about India's deep tech startup opportunity, enabling the rise of future unicorns from sunrise sectors. Geetika, can we have you on stage?
Good morning, everyone. Thank you. It's great to be here. And I'd like to thank, of course, ET for putting together this program. I think it turns out to be not just a celebration of entrepreneurship and what the spirit of entrepreneurs, resides in, that word resilience that we see over there, but also the fact that it gives a great platform to actually get insights, get to know what's happening, and as we just heard from our keynote speaker, Jeet, here, in terms of what the government is doing to enable this ecosystem. So it's a great opportunity for all of us to get together and do this. You know, when I was in, I think, college, there was this Billy Joel song, which was, "We didn't start the fire. It was always burning when the world was turning. We didn't start the fire. We didn't light it." But I think the role that all of us play as industry associations like TIE and many others, as media organizations like ET and the government, is that we are fueling that fire. And that fire is the zeal of entrepreneurs which resides in all of you. And how that is now almost like unstoppable. When I talk of this deep tech ecosystem and how the Soonicorn or unicorn journey for deep tech is starting, it almost feels like a sort of a retro futuristic feeling. We've all seen, I think, those sci-fi kind of comics and movies and books where there would be flying objects and all kinds of communication and time travel and teletransponders and all kinds of things which seemed like almost those superhuman superpowers. But what it showed us that it had optimism. It showed us optimism and hope, because many of those things have become reality today. Right from the phone that we hold in our hand and the optical fibers that are laid under the ocean, to the laptops we use, to the way we consume energy, many things which we take for granted today were actually something that we had never thought of or never dreamed of. So there was deep tech even earlier. There were organizations and passionate entrepreneurs that were building it even before we realized it. We didn't know that startups is what they were not called startups. They were just entrepreneurs who were passionate about what they were doing and building technology as they went along. We did not call it deep tech then. These are words that have now come up and become common parlance, which we understand and use as explaining what more is happening now. But we've built a great digital economy across the country. We've got digital in everything that is being done, and SaaS is everywhere. It's built a great future for us. But we do rely and we do depend on deep tech and these frontier technologies to solve the problems that none of these other digital economies will be able to solve. Nobody can solve, other than deep tech companies, the problem of hunger and feeding, the millions of people that need to get fed. And therefore, their relevance in the agri sector cannot be, underscored enough. Again, from a defense, from a space perspective, from the healthcare sector, in all of these, the reliance on deep tech is immense, because these are the ones that will be game changers for not only now, but for our future. When we look at the future of healthcare, the only way to solve the problems of the aging economy that will come up will be through deep tech solutions. There is work happening which is looking for ways to solve Alzheimer's. There is work happening which is to look at ways which will be a replacement for chemotherapy in cancer solutions. So therefore, our reliance on deep tech in terms of what damage has been done to climate and what we need to do for climate change is again something that is being harnessed through deep tech solutions. I think it took about 27 years to build the first billion-dollar company in India. And then after the advent of dot-coms, it took about 4 years for the first unicorn with a billion-dollar valuation. Today, we are more than 100 unicorns. And a large number of those unicorns were Soonicorns. I think between 99 to 2002 is when most of them were Soonicorns, which have now rapidly grown. And the time to be a unicorn is becoming shorter and shorter. So the journey from a Soonicorn to unicorn, if you look at it from India's agrarian mindset and the fact that we call them unicorns, etc., if you compare that to, let's say, the farming sector, all these seeds for the corns were planted in the farming sector, which have become mini-corns, Soonicorns, and therefore unicorns. So that is rapidly exceeding our expectations in the last few years. I think 2022 was a watershed year for deep tech startups. The next 5 years will hopefully give us almost 10 startups in the deep tech sector itself. I think there are immense challenges in this sector which cannot be ignored, and those were around the fact that what grows as a small idea in a beaker in a laboratory is what needs to be commercialized and taken to market. And that is a long journey. Deep tech is not an overnight success. It takes time. One needs to really be passionate about it. The time to be able to test it, the ability to be able to commercialize it, build IP around it, and then take it forward in terms of building in India for the world. All of that is a challenging scenario, and therefore it almost needs, like they say, it takes a village to bring up a baby. It's in the same manner. These deep tech startups, these deep tech Soonicorns need the support of everybody. And there is I think a draft national policy on deep tech as well for startups that's coming up, which solves for a lot of these problems. It realizes the requirement for R&D, for infrastructure, for funding, for collaborations, for corporates to work together in all of this as well. And the requirement for mentorship, for nurturing them, to build an IP regime that will create and unlock value, and to be able to create a market, to be able to create procurement policies for deep tech startups as well. So I think there is a lot of work. I think VCs, investors are also beginning to realize the potential that is there, because while it may take patient capital in some cases, it's not about being able to give return on investment in the 5 years that they are normally used to. But while it takes a longer time, but the kind of IP it creates and the kind of risk it has mitigated in the earlier period actually gives higher returns for a longer period of time. So that realization, that commitment to being able to invest in companies that make a difference is definitely something that VCs must realize and are beginning to realize. We know that there are investors, for example, like Rajan Anandan, who talk about how deep tech companies are now writing a playbook and creating a precedent for unlocking this whole ecosystem. Bharat Innovation Fund has deployed, I think, almost 40% of their funds in deep tech companies as well. So there is a lot of potential to build on it. I think from the perspective of Soonicorns, sitting here and other founders, the important thing is to be focused on what difference you're making in the world, because it is not just about an idea that is a quick fix. It's about realizing that what you're doing has meaning. It makes a difference in the world, and it's worth pursuing. I think the other thing in terms of being looking at it from that perspective is also to be always looking at the next curve. Whatever you are doing, what is the next curve for that? In some cases, India has had a great ability to leapfrog and move ahead on their innovation life cycle. What you are solving for is it's not a question of what you do. It's more a question of what benefit you are creating. I think when you're able to articulate what is the benefit that you're creating for society in the long term, that is where the real passion lies. So continue to be innovative, continue to evolve that innovation. It has to serve a much, much larger cause. And when it comes to being able to take it forward, because none of that will survive by being just an innovation. With the right kind of access to investments, with the right kind of collaborations, with the right kind of mentorship, there is a lot that can be achieved. And to do that, we all have to come together. So the stress on the word collaboration cannot be highlighted enough, because that is what will make us grow. And the other aspect that I'd like to just recommend is in terms of perfecting your pitch. And when I say that, it's not just about pitching to investors. I think perfecting your pitch means who are you pitching to? Recognize your customer to whom you will be talking, whether it's the investor or the market. I think when you're able to articulate that pitch to yourself as to what benefit you're providing, what is it that you're solving for, the Soonicorn journey to become a unicorn will be much, much faster. And we are all, I think, there in terms of rooting for deep tech startups. There is a lot of work that has gone into it. We are all celebrating what ISRO has achieved, but I can assure you that startups have lost no time in being able to identify what more can be done in unlocking the potential in space and defense, and therefore all the other sectors. So we are all there to create a collaborative ecosystem. We rely on the deep tech startups in terms of their ideas, their passion, and what they are building. And we hope we can all come together, supported by the wonderful things that are being done in the government now. In many cases, it used to be that the entrepreneurs have the entrepreneurial drive, they have the ideas. Let's not interfere too much in what they are doing. Let's just give them the kind of support that they require. Let's not create hindrances. In fact, let's move away the hindrances. And I think that is what we are seeing as a change now, where people are coming together, government is coming together with the right policies, the right framework, and also bringing the whole capital ecosystem together. And with that, I think we have a very bright future ahead. We wish you all the very best. We'll be rooting for your success, and hopefully we'll see much more going on. I don't want to take up too much time, because I know there will be a lot of conversation out in the corridors as well. So thank you once again for having me here, and thank you for being a great audience.
Thank you, Geetika. You get special bonus points for referring to my favorite song, We Didn't Start the Fire. Right. We are now going to launch the ET Future Unicorns of Delhi-NCR report. This report is a testament to the spirit of entrepreneurship and innovation that defines the Delhi-NCR region and also shines a spotlight on key industries, sectors, and startups that are primed for success. To launch this report, may I invite on stage to join Geetika, may I invite Jeet Vijay, CEO of MEITY Startup Hub. May I also invite Miloni, Bhatt, Manu Toms, and Samidha Sharma from ET to join our speakers. Can I request you to occupy center stage? Thank you, Geetika, Jeet, Miloni, Manu, Samidha, and the ET team for joining us on stage. This report will be available to all of you in both soft and hard copy formats.